Welcome, everyone. We've got a very special guest today. It's Håvard, and he is quite an important member in the early black metal scene for being one of the founding members of Satyricon and Ulver. We've got him on today to share more about his time in the black metal scene, what he's getting up to now, talking about gear and all things music. And Håvard, it's great to have you on Black Metal Legends.
Yeah, it's I'm humbled to be on here, but it's nice to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. So I want to start off talking like right at the beginning because the way you play guitar is very, very unique and it's very, very classical influence. Like we're talking like all of the acoustic stuff on pretty much all your projects. What made you want to start playing guitar anyway? And did you learn classical guitar first, or did you start with electric guitar?
Yeah, I started guitar in I think it was around fifth or sixth grade. We had this awesome music teacher. Normally, when you start music in Norway or yeah, I bet in several countries, you learn how to play the flute, the recorder, is it called that? Yeah. And but he was genuine interested in classical music, guitar and piano. So we got mandatory guitar playing. Uh, so we learned to play just the basics, chords and stuff. And we also had tests in annual tests in guitar playing and stuff. So we improved quite a bit during just a couple of years playing the guitar, and he suggested to me that I should start to look into more classical music because I was already reading the notes because I was in a marching band previous. So he asked he suggested I start with that, and he said that I could take lessons with him after school. So I did that for a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and that really got me into the playing, the classical playing, and with the acoustic guitar. But I was also starting to listen to more and more to rock and hard rock, and especially Kiss and Metallica, which led to me wanting a electric guitar. So I got my first electric guitar. I was around 15, I think, for Christmas, 14, 15. And after that, I didn't spend too much time with the acoustic, but it's always been a part of when I write music. It's always been there. It's been very natural to have it. Yeah, not in every song, but quite often I pick up the acoustic to try to incorporate some of that into the songs. So yeah, thanks to that music teacher, I started with the guitar. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I remembered quite a lot of things whilst you were talking. Like I remember in my high school, especially like the music department was pretty terrible. And we just had like one working drum kit and then the others were like all bashed in by like people taking their lessons. And then at the same time, you had like some people just like walk into the music room sometimes and start smashing things up, and all of the guitars were broken except for like one, but then it wasn't broken yet. And then when there were some new music teachers a few years later, they ordered a whole bunch more equipment, and all of that ended up breaking as well, especially all the guitar strings and stuff. And it was just a nightmare. It's always really important to remember, and it's one of those things like you never forget your teachers, especially like the good ones or the ones that really, really inspire you,
Yeah,
because they're the ones
exactly.
that really, really help you along the way in the journey.
Another cool part with this teacher is that we also had something we call valgfag in Norwegian. It's extra curriculum, I think. And we could choose music for that. And what we would do then was to he would always put on a year annual kind of musical kind of. He wrote all the music, all the lyrics and stuff, and we had to play it or sing it or act. So we had a band, we had singers, we had actors, and we had people to do the scenery, and yeah. So and we went to several places in Oslo to perform. So at an early age we were getting into that band and production thing. This was I was around 15. The two last years on high school we did that, and that boosted the passion for playing more music. So yeah.
For sure, yeah, because it was very similar in my situation because like even what I said, there was like some shoddy equipment or whatever, like we made the most of what we had. I remember it was like me and a couple friends. We always used to spend sometimes after school, sometimes lunchtimes, or even just like music classes, just rehearsing and playing. And then even we got quite involved with the music department, and we were doing like school assemblies and school performances and stuff. And but just the actual importance of just playing with people in a kind of like band environment, really hearing out for what the other person is doing, and even being creative. Like we used to come up with like our own little riffs and songs and stuff. It wasn't even like any heavy metal stuff. We used to just do like rock covers and stuff. But even so, just like jamming around, you really, really listen out for everything else that's going on and totally understanding the band concept and the band room. And I think that's so important because there's been a big shift now in the way people write music these days, and a different shift in the approach to the way people make music, because it's so easy now for someone to just get a laptop and have a drum loop going and come up with riffs, as opposed to like playing in a room with someone. And I think that's both ways have their good and bad. But I think I noticed my playing get really good and really improve when I started playing with people. Was that the same kind of situation that it was with you?
Yeah, because as soon as I got a guitar, or electric guitar, we formed a band. Uh, we were just friends. Okay, we need a drummer who can play drums.
Yeah.
We were yeah. So that was and we had a rehearsal space in downstairs. I was growing up in a block, we
Yeah.
say in Norway. And downstairs we had a small space that we could use for rehearsal, and we borrowed the drum kit, and we had a tiny guitar amp and a tiny bass amp, and just friends jamming, trying to learn songs. And we started with easy songs by Kiss or Metallica, or yeah. So we just it was I was always in a band. Practiced some stuff at home, but it was more fun to be with some other friends and just jamming out.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Because it gets a bit, I don't know, it gets kind of, in some ways, isolating when you're writing by yourself. There's like no one to bounce ideas from, and then it's kind of like you have to be your own worst critic at the same time. And
I
you
think
have to,
that's more. I don't know too much of too many younger players, but I think that's more the case today, is that there is a lot more people sitting at home and just playing
Mm,
and getting really, really good. And maybe it's hard also it's harder, at least here in Oslo, I think it's harder to get to know other people to play in a band also, because when I was growing up we had all these youth clubs all over the place, and everybody had every one of them had a rehearsal space. So if you was if you were interested in starting to playing, you could always hang out around the band rehearsals, and there was always somebody who needed a guitar player or a bass player or something. Today it's more like trying to find people, and the distances are created also, so you may maybe travel for an hour or two just to get to meet people that has the same interest as you has.
Yeah, yeah, because that's the kind of thing that's happening even with one of my bands. Like I've got two band members that live in the north of England, and we have to always meet halfway. So like getting to a rehearsal can sometimes be like 2 or 3 hours. That's just one way. But also, it's one of those things that always has its pros and cons because if you're kind of like by yourself, then it does give more time for like really practice, and but at the same time, it's kind of like taking. I think it's good for people to jam and play with other musicians because you learn more things and you see the way other people play, and it just gives you a bit more insight and it kind of forces you to listen out to other things. So,
You also learn to moderate yourself,
mm, yeah,
be
yeah,
to fit in with two or three, four other guys. You can't just up to 11 and be
yes.
crazy. So you have to.
Yes, that's a very, very important point. Yeah, you got to understand the dynamics
Mm.
and kind of like band etiquette. Like for example, if a so if a guitarist is trying to tune by ear and the drummer's going, it's not going to help. But at the same time, if like the drummer's talking to someone and the guitar player's going, there's got to be a kind of like discipline that's only built in the band room, and it's a kind of like musical manners in a way. It's just like shut up when other people are talking, and if you need to discuss something, you all have to like treat it together. And then even if you're in a room and you're like songwriting or you've got your guitar, if the song's kind of slow or you've got like a like it's very unlikely that the riff will need a kind of kind of guitar line to it. But no, that's a really important thing. Going back to you and your guitars, what was your first electric guitar, and what what have you had over the years, and what are you using now?
My first electric guitar was an Epiphone SG white, and I think I sold it many years ago, and I've been looking for trying to find one again because just for nostalgia and also for just it was a good guitar. It was a really cheap guitar. I got it from my mother and for Christmas, and but I haven't found it. It was some I think it must have been late 80s something Epiphone, yeah, in uh, in white, and I had that guitar, and then I bought a really strange guitar. It kind of looked like a Jackson. I can't remember the make, but it kind of like a Jackson. But it has this. I just called it the ice cream guitar because it had this finish which looked like white, red, and brown ice cream, which has melted together. It's not the prettiest guitar, but I thought it was cool in the late 80s. Uh, After that, I had then I bought my first real guitar. I had saved up some money, and I ordered a guitar from the States actually. It was a Fender Strat Plus, it was called. It was a Stratocaster and a Plus model with yeah, all the bells and whistles. It spec really good. It had this Fender lace system, and it was, I can't remember all the details, but it was I think it was locking tuners as well, actually. And I was really happy with that guitar, and this is a funny story because I was using that guitar when we did the first demo, Vargnatt, with Ulver, and I was in studio and I was just messing around with some riffs, playing on the guitar, and I played some riffs by a band called Dream Police. It was a Norwegian rock band, which had a really well, the guitar player is really really good, and he's regarded as one of, yeah, on the top shelf in Norwegian when it comes to rock and hard rock, and yeah, he plays now in a band called Wigwam. I was playing that, and the guy in the control room, he was asking me, "Oh, those riffs sound familiar," and I was ignorant, and I said, "Ah, it's a Dream Police, it's a Norwegian band, blah blah, cool." Blah. Yeah, actually, I wrote those riffs, he said. So this was the guy that plays guitar. Trond Holter is his name, and I was a bit embarrassed, but he was cool. And I in the break I went into the control room and we had a chat about my guitar. He really liked the guitar I had, and I was talking to him about maybe changing to Floyd Rose and stuff, and yeah, it was my Floyd Rose era, and he said that he had built a custom guitar with Floyd Rose and EMG pickups and an ESP neck and a Strat body. And he said that we could switch. And if I liked that guitar, I could keep it and he could keep mine. So I tried the guitar, and it was a great guitar for me playing metal. So we switched, and that was the guitar I used from 1993 until I stopped playing in the early 2000s. So all the Ulver records and all the metal I did was with that guitar. And that was the only electric guitar I owned. I never had any arsenal of guitars. I just had the one electric and one acoustic. And then I still had that guitar actually, but it's retired. It's
Retired.
actually
I see. Oh, okay, I see. I
retired.
see.
Yeah. So now when I started to play, because I had a break for 14, 15 years from doing much guitar or at least electric metal stuff. So when I started again, I needed something that was not too expensive but sounded good, and that's when I bought this one, the LTD Deluxe EC 1000
Hmm.
with the EMG 81 and I can't remember what is in the neck, but it's 81 in the bridge, which I think it's the ultimate metal pickup for me, at least. And when we started to play live, I bought a similar just to have a backup. So those are my electric guitars now, and this is my old acoustic, which I had from 1991. I did all the Ulver stuff with that. All the acoustic stuff I've done actually up until now is done with this one. It was a 2000 NOx guitar back in the early 90s, but it's got this patina now. It sounds really great. And I have another when I do because when we are doing with Dold Vorde, we're doing live stuff. I also play the acoustic, and then I have bought a Yamaha cutout Yamaha. Can't remember the make, but it sounds good, and it's you can plug it in and stuff. So Yeah, that's my guitar. I also had actually a Gibson Les Paul, which I was looking for a Gibson Les Paul, and I wanted uh, from the early 90s, and a guy in Trondheim, he was selling one, and I drove up to Trondheim just to buy that and drove back again. That's a 14-hour drive back and forth, and I had that for a while, and then it didn't get much use, so I just sold it again. So that's basically, I'm very pragmatic when it comes to instruments. I buy the instruments I need, and then I get rid of them if they are not if they're just hanging around, then there is no need for me to have them. So I sell them.
I get you. Yeah, yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. How do you find the LTDs compared to the Gibson?
The Gibson was for me. The Gibson was I've learned something about guitars because I've never been too interested in getting in and listening to the different woods and stuff. But the Gibson was very dark, and it has had these original pickups. I think it was. It sounds like a Terminator T500 or something. It was a semi-hot bridge pickup, but a humbucker. But it didn't really fit into what I was doing. So the EMG 81s, especially on these guys, sound really. They are crisp, and they are there's a lot of attack in them, and you can get this yeah shuggy sound. Is it? Yeah. Which I'm not a shugger, but occasionally it's cool to just do a palm muted riff, and it sounds good, and it fits my style. And I always used EMGs for the metal I have done. So the only thing that's different now is the amps I'm using. In the 90s, I was just using one of these bad boys.
Oh, right. Yes.
Oh yeah.
And was that used on the early Ulver stuff?
Oh yes. It
Oh,
was this one into a JCM 800,
okay.
and yeah, cranked all the way up. Nasty.
Oh, right. So was that just straight in the front of a JCM 800 on the clean channel? Okay, I see. And was that the same tone that was used on Bergtatt and Nattens Madrigal? Was it the same thing? Both
Yeah,
JCM 800s?
yeah.
I see, I see. Like the actual guitar tone from Nattens Madrigal. But if it's just a metal zone cranked all the way up through a JCM 800, then that's it.
Don't remember the settings, but yeah, it sounded much better when we recorded it than it did after we released the album. Uh, Better is a loose term, but it sounded more balanced. We cut a lot of the bass from it when we mastered it, so it kind of but it was a fairly okay sound, I think, for in terms of black metal. 90s black metal was not so much knowledge. I actually watched it's this guy in Sweden, Englund. No,
Ola England, yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
he did a bit with the metal song when he where he did it in the effect loop. And I don't have any amps at the moment, amp heads, so I haven't tried that. But sounded decent actually.
If you're not using any amps at the moment, then what are you using?
On the first, yeah, we are back on Dold Vorde now. We did an EP in 2019, Then I used it was a combination actually of I bought this small PV head, PV 65 550
Ah, yes.
you know that small 15 waters
505 mini head. Yeah, yeah.
and a small cabinet, one 12-inch I think, and I just mic'd it, and it didn't sound. I didn't get it to sound right, so I think I changed it and used Angle. I found that the Angle Savage, uh,
Hmm.
and I bought. I didn't have my studio here is quite limited, so I bought UAD Aux box. You know
Mhm.
that?
I know of it. I know
Yeah,
about the but isn't that
it's
the kind
an attenuator, and it's also a cab simulator. Which I just plugged the 100 and is it 150 watts or something into it and just straight into my sound card, and it sounded much better than I got from the PV. So I sold the PV and I kept the Angle for quite some time. And then when we are were to record the next album, I sold the Angle, and then I bought a Angle Fireball. No, one of the small ones,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The little fireballs. Yeah, yeah.
25 watts, really potent. It was sounded really good, and also through the aux box and into my sound card. And now for the next album or live, we have our second guitar player. He's a tech whiz, so he much more than I am. So he figured out that when we are doing things live, we are going to minimize the amount of gear that we have to drag around. So we bought one or two fractal FM3s, the small axe box, and got and we spent some time and got quite similar tone that I had on the mørkere album with Dold, and we've been using that now for a couple of years. And the sound was also based on the Savage, the Engel Savage, and yeah, and he come up with another idea that we should do the quad cortex. So he bought a quad cortex, and we have tried it now in 2 gigs, and we actually run 2 guitars and 1 bass through one quad cortex, and every changes in tones and patches is done through MIDI. So it's so from from lugging around the amps and stuff to venues, we are just having this small box and a mixer, and everything is just pre-programmed. So for me as a lazy guitar player, it's perfect. So I'm guessing going to stick with that maybe for the next album, to do still do the Savage, Engel Savage, because I really love the sound I can get out of a Savage, especially with these guitars for my taste. So I will try to find a patch. Otherwise, maybe I'll borrow one and just record it. But just having it sitting here and collecting dust, it's not my style. But I wish I could have more equipment, but it's just so damn expensive.
Mhm. Is the Savage you had the Mark One variant with the like silver faceplate, or
Yeah,
was that one? Okay, yeah, because one of my
I
friends.
was so eager to get one that I actually, and no one was selling it used. But I found one in Gothenburg. So I
Hmm.
drove. It's only a 3 hour drive, but I drove down to Gothenburg one Saturday morning and got into the rehearsal space and tried it and got a CD from the band and brought it back and plugged it in. So I can't remember the band, but it was a fairly known. I think it's actually on Century Media, so they are probably known, but I can't remember the name. But it was more death, a typical Swedish death metal. So, but the sound is oh, I love it, and especially paired with the vintage 30s speakers. So
Mm. Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Like I do want to get my hands and try one of the original Savages and even the Mark IIs as well, because you know how it is. You hear things online, but then it's like, no, I need to go there and try it out myself. That's when you understand like the feel of an amp as well, is because like the 6505, like I love how it sounds on some recordings and like some of the bands they use, some really really great sounds on there, and even live as well. Like I saw Mayhem when I was living in Korea, and they were using 6505s, and the sound just worked then. But if for some reason the way I play, I don't like the way I play and how the PVs react, and I much prefer this kind of like also kind of like a nastiness that you get from the Engel and the Marshalls especially because they're just it's that voice that they have.
I haven't played too many PVs, but I tried some of the plugins out there, and it's decent, it's okay. But I always go back to the Engel because it's something about the sound, and I think that's the important thing here is that you are playing and using the gear that makes you inspired and makes you happy. That's not what somebody is telling you to do, or try it. Try the different stuff, and if you like something, you like it. If you don't like it, you don't have to use it. So it's simple.
Exactly, and that's what I say to everyone. Like people ask me, "Hey, is this amp good? Is this amp bad? Should I get this? Should I get that?" And it's like, if I like it, fine, that's fine. But really, it's, if you like it, it's like you need to try it out and you need to see how it works for you. Because there's a reason why there's so many deans around me is because I found what I like, and
Yeah.
I've got and I know what I want from a guitar, and it's kind of like this is the one that does it for me. If it doesn't work for you, then that's fine. There's plenty of other guitar brands and things to choose from. So, and that's the most important thing now. I think it's very easy for a beginner guitarist to kind of like chase their idol's sound or their favorite band's sound.
Of course.
But then the most important thing, and this is where like the real creative side comes into it, is really about finding your own sound. It's like why would you want to start like for me anyway, like why would I want to start a band to sound like someone else? That just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like I want to start a band that's kind of like my sound and I want to do the music that I kind of want to make, not what other people want, because it's one of those things where it's like sometimes with bands it's like people don't know what they want until they hear it, and then that's probably a very very cool transition to talk about like the early black metal stuff really, because it wasn't until like my cousin showed me Immortal, for example.
Hmm.
This was like back in 2009 actually, when All Shall Fall just came out, and he just sent me the new Immortal stuff, and it just clicked with me, and then the black metal spiral begun. So growing up in Norway, in Oslo, in the late 80s and early 90s, like how did you get into first of all, how did you get into black metal? And how did you get into black metal? What was the scene like at the time? And how did you end up meeting end up meeting the guys in Eczema, which I believe was the name Satyricon had before Satyricon.
Yeah.
So yeah, just what's your experience with that?
It was I started on in when you are finished with is it college? No, it's not college. It's high school, I think, when you are around 16.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
high school. In my class was a guy. Um, uh, yeah, Kalle Eide. He's known as Schral, and yeah, he um, he played in he plays in Ved Buens Ende, Virus, Aura Noir.
Mhm.
He started, and I knew him. He is 1 year older than me, but he started in my class because he wanted to do. I did allmennfag. It's hard to translate, but it was just basically the same classes you had in pre-high, but it was more advanced. So. And he had a band, or at least he had a buddy, which also started in high school at the same time, who played the bass, and he was playing the drums, and the other guy, Vegard, he was playing the bass, and they needed a guitar player, and I was kind of into the more heavier stuff, so. Maybe it was obvious to or natural to ask me. So I said yes, we could try. And we started hanging out, and we had a rehearsal space at the youth center, and they were more into. That's when I started to learn more about the more extreme types of metal. Or up until then, I've been listening to Metallica and Death, and yeah. But they were more into the kind of Carcass, the more um, yeah, it was Carcass mostly, and that what's also inspired the first name. They had this name which was Eczema because that fitted with the Carcass style of doing things, and the lyrics was also kind of in that direction. We did play for a while and made some songs, and then nobody of us three wanted to sing because we re really didn't have any good vocalists in either of us. So we agreed upon hanging notes up in the local stores in the city, the music stores, asking for a vocalist, and yeah, it took maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then I got a call from a guy called Sigurd von Graven, and he was into the same thing, and we invited him over, and we started to rehearse with him, and I think we kept the name for some time because we attended this kind of competition. It was like a battle of the bands for Oslo, and there wasn't too many of those bands around, at least doing Battle of the Bands. So there was a lot of bands like Nirvana and stuff, and it was us. So we somehow pulled it off and won the contest, and got in the local newspaper and stuff. And I think that was when we yeah, and we were promised to do a demo recording at a local studio, and all of a sudden the prize when we had won, we only got a diploma. We didn't get the prize of going into the studio and record. So we were pissed off, and yeah, 15, 16, 16-year-old kids going down, just smashing the diploma and ripping it apart, and fuck you and stuff. And then we yeah, just forgot about it. And soon after we figured we wanted to do more of the black stuff, because I remember starting to listening to Dark Throne. And this was, yeah, I listened to Dark Throne. The first LP was more like death metal, but Soulside Journey was a big fan of that. And then they switched to black metal, and that was really what kind of boosted at least myself into playing more of the black metal stuff. And Sigurd was also a driver for doing more of the black stuff. And we also needed to change the name. We changed the name from Eczema to Satyricon, and yeah, that's basically how it came
Awesome.
together.
And you came up with the name Satyricon, right?
Yeah, I it was kind of funny, because I've seen so many times or read it that because Fellini had this movie called Satyricon. It's I think he was an Italian director for movies, and had this obscure movie called Satyricon, but that was the idea behind the band name. But actually, it's more it was just four guys going home trying to figure out the black metal name. Um, and I was just going through my dictionary, and I found the name Satyr, and it was a bit short, and then the icon was Satyricon. So, and yeah, it's kind of stuck, and it's kind of, yeah, I think it was a cool name. Yeah, it held up quite well.
So you recorded on, was it the first Satyricon demo or was it the first album as well?
I did two demos, I
Uh-huh.
think. Uh, the first one and the second one, uh, the two only ones. And then I remember being, I was after I left, I was back in the studio when they recorded the first album, and I did some, or the EP, or I haven't really followed the recordings too well, but I was asked to come and do at least some acoustic stuff, I think, on the, I can't really remember what I did or did not, but I did at least the solo on Min hylleste vinterland, I remember, and maybe I did some other stuff as well, but on the demos I was playing, so yeah.
That's awesome. And what was the lineup back then? It was you, Satyr, and when did Frost start drumming for Satyricon?
First, it was actually the first lineup of Satyricon before any recordings was me, Kalle, Vegard, and Sigurd.
Mhm.
And then after a while, I think Vegard quit, and Kalle was yeah. It was a dark moment in my life, but we agreed to tell him that it wasn't really working with his drumming. So we had we let him go, and I'm still sorry for that today. But he's one of my best friends even today. So yeah, we are past that. But and remember that Sigurd told me that he had this guy that he has gotten to know, which was Kjetil or Frost. and he was actually living just a couple of yeah, 5 minute walk from me. It was really black metal back then. Still is in the clothes and the appearance and everything. So yeah, he came in on the second demo. I think it was on the second demo. So probably in '92 or something. And then we were three, and we moved. We moved to Nesodden, which is moved the rehearsal space to Nesodden, where Sigurd is from. And I remember I was kind of sick of traveling, and I was also not on board with the whole extreme anti-Christianity and desecrating graves and everything. So I kind of wanted to do something. I was really about making music, and that kind of music really appeals to me. So I wanted to make the music, but I didn't really want to be a part of the, because this was when a time when thing escalated quickly with the church burnings and murders, and everything was really blowing up. And I felt more at home doing music because Kalle, he started in Ulver after he went from Satyricon to Ulver, because he met Chris at school, because he switched high school after a couple of years. He switched to another high school which had a music line. And there he met Chris, and I remember Chris asking me to come and try out and do maybe some acoustic stuff for the first demo, Bergtatt. So I did Trollskogen, which is a whole classical piece, and I did some acoustic overdubs on a couple of the songs. And this was my friends. We were hanging out a lot, everybody back then, because the scene was very small. So we met at Helvete, the shop, or we met at Møller's, which was a bar that you can sneak in without being 18. So we were hanging out there, drinking beer and talking, and everybody was there. And so it was natural for me to, and I knew what they were up to in Ulver, and the plans with doing the more yeah, Bergtatt and more the Norse folklore, and the more, it was more appealing to me, and going out and saying I hate the Christians. I'm not a Christian, but I'm still, that was, it kind of was a really hard statement to go out with, when all I wanted to do was to create music and be a part of something that was on the same kind of level, music-wise and image-wise, like I was. So that's why I kept with, I walked from Satyricon, and then I started in Ulver, and it was prior to the Bergtatt recordings, so we had maybe a couple of rehearsals, and then we just went into the studio and recorded Bergtatt.
That's
Yeah.
that's quite a story. Before I go into the Ulva stuff, so when you went to Helvete, did you end up meeting like everyone there, like Hellhammer, Euronymous, and all those guys?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Hellhammer was also a guy that hung out a lot in the bars around Oslo. So, and the scene was very, was very small back then. So and you had this kind of uh, Oslo scene, and you had a West Coast scene, and yeah. So at least in Oslo, it was natural to go to Helvete. We went to Helvete even before we started playing, because we bought music there, and tapes and vinyls, and Øystein was running the shop. He was there, and I remember also Varg being there sometimes, and yeah, all the what you could call the prominent figures was was basically just early 20-year-old guys. So yeah.
And it really was just a dimly lit room with candles with like vinyls and weapons on the wall, right?
Yeah, yeah. It was special to go in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Fucking hell, yeah. Because I've not visited Norway yet, but I guess as part of the black metal pilgrimage, where you have to go downstairs, down the shop. I think it's Blood Records now.
Yeah.
Go downstairs and you see the black metal spray paint on the wall, and you get your photo there. You know, that's one of the
That's the shop Neseblod, which is
yeah.
nosebleed in English. It's the entrance is not where the Helvete was, because the Helvete was on the corner.
Uh,
But it's the same kind of basement. You can go down there and see, yeah, you see all they call them blackpackers. Inferno Festival, they get guided up there, and they go down and they take pictures and stuff, and
yeah.
so
That's
it's become a, yeah, a tradition for a lot of
yeah.
uh,
For sure,
metals.
I can imagine. But can a regular person just go to Nesblood Records and ask to go downstairs, or does it have to be special occasions? Do you know?
No. I only been there twice, I think, and I just last time I was with a friend of mine from Canada who wanted to go there, and he asked me if I could join him, and okay. And when we went in there, there is a shop with uh, a lot of cool recordings. You can find anything there. And then you can also go down a spiral stairs, and in the basement they also have a lot of vinyls and cassettes and you name it. And you can just walk through the basement, and you end up in this kind of chamber, small chamber with is it black metal? It says, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's fucking cool. Going on to the Ulva stuff now. Let's talk about more of the writing side of Ulva and Bergtatt, because what made you guys want to go into this more kind of Norse folk direction in in the black metal scene? Because if I'm not mistaken, the whole thing about being a black metal band was that there was like some kind of similarity when it was like this kind of cold guitar tone, a harsh shrieking style of vocal, and of course aggressive drums and well, we say unconventional song structures. You know, things that aren't just, you know, verse, pre-chorus, chorus kind of thing. What was what was the approach, and why did you guys want to go for the more kind of folk side with Ulva? Was it the case of you guys wanted to stand out, or was it just kind of like your cool idea you had and decided to run with it, or um, did it just kind of happen by accident?
I really don't know, but Chris Garm,
Hmm.
he is by definition he is Ulver, and he had this clear vision from the get-go. I'm really never talked about it, but he just had this vision about um, doing the more folk or the more folklore kind of because there is a darkness in there, and there is the reason I don't know, but it was for me at least, it was very it opened up a kind of a Pandora's box when it comes to inspiration, because then I could I could use my classic guitar much more. I felt you can use it in anything, but it felt it was easier for me to use that, and also the first recording is quite melodic, and it's he did a lot of the clean vocals, and I think it was yeah, it was because it's important, and I still think it's important, and you also talked about it earlier, the kind of finding your own sound, your own way, your own voice in the music, how important that is, and just not copycatting everything else. And I think maybe he saw that there was an overflow of black metal band coming out sounding kind of the same in a way. That could be a reason, but to be honest, we never really discussed it and talked about it. So maybe we should, maybe I should ask him about it. It was just a natural thing for me, the most natural thing in the world to just go in there and create music. And folklore is also something which is for me, yeah, it's makes perfect sense to do that in a kind of dark black metal way.
And when it came to the writing process of writing Ulver songs, how did you go about that?
For the first record, it was a mix of writers. For example, Kalle, the drummer, was not a part of the, because when we from Vargnat to Bergtatt, it was a more or less complete makeover in terms of members. So Kalle, he had wrote some riffs, and the opening riff for can't remember the name.
Oh, I think I know this bit of trivia. Was it because he wrote the intro to Eat called Faren Wild?
Yes,
Right. Yes.
this one, this one.
Hmm.
That's a Kalle riff, and we kind of kind of went from there. Actually, I love that riff, and I wish I wrote it, but I'm really happy that he wrote it,
Hmm.
because it's a really kind of Kalle riff. Kalle is very musical. He's the most musical guy that I know. He can play everything, and he has his own style. He is one of oh, yeah, he's a true gem when it comes to making especially the things he have done with Vebuens and Virus and Aura Noir, and you can hear it. I can hear that this is Kalle. So the first riff was kind of the first song I think that we had. I can't remember. We were two guitar players. It was me and a guy called Torbjørn, and we came up with some ideas each. Some of the ideas I can clearly hear that I have written. Some of the things I am not sure. I think he wrote, and we kind of mixed it together, and a lot of we mixed also in a lot of acoustic stuff in there. So uh, yeah, and the recording process was also it was done in very small studio. It was called Endless, and it was a small stable actually in the heart of Oslo. It was a small brick stable, and had this really steep staircase up to the second floor, which was the control room, and the drums was downstairs. and I remember just falling down those stairs a million times recording that album. But uh, it was that was the first real recording in a kind of real recording studio, and with a real contract, and it was going to be on LP, no, on CD, and I don't think we released it on vinyl back then. It was a CD. It was the age of the CDs. So I remember, and we were only, this was in 94. I think I was 19, 18, 19 years old, and I was, it was so, we were so eager to just go into the studio and play it, and yeah, four or five guys, and yeah, we didn't think too much about it afterwards, because this was not the time that thing blew up. It was not a black metal that it was not. So when we were finished, we did sell quite amount of records compared to what you would sell on vinyl today. So it was good, and we were um, fairly satisfied. You know, when you're finished in the studio, you always think that, oh, I could have done that part better, or I could have done that part better. But no, it was a really good experience, and yeah, I hate to to say that I can't remember too much about it, but it was essential. It was me with the metal zone and Marshall amp, and my old guitar, and Torbjørn, he used a Fender, I remember. So it was not the baddest guitars in the world, but it was certainly not the most black metal guitars. But it and that's also what I think was, because Bergtatt has this kind of warm sound. It was not typical uh, trebly black metal sound. So and that is something I'm really glad that we did, was preserving that kind of warmth in the sound, because that's also something I like to do today. Also with the Dold Vorde, we have this kind of, we try to make it more like the mixing and the mastering more like they did in the 80s, more than what they do now. It's not as cramped, and yeah, preserve some dynamics, and have a slightly more warmer tone to it, more organic. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because that's yeah, like when you were playing the that riff, it was oddly emotional because for me that's one of like that's one of the best black metal songs and one of the best well that's my favorite Ulver riff actually, that intro riff. It's very very special, and with the vocal melodies that was all Garm's doing, wasn't it? Because that just magic. It's so simple. It's like 5 or 6 notes and it just works. When writing that song in particular, was it like what was the feeling like in the rehearsal room when you were playing this song? Because that must have been like a really like spine-chilling experience, like just to
That's the thing. We didn't rehearse too much,
okay.
because no, because we we did a few rehearsals, of course, but I can't really remember we doing much rehearsals. We had a small for a small period of time. We shared a rehearsal space with Mayhem and a couple of other bands, Arcturus, and we maybe 10, 20 rehearsals, but we were more like making music and going into the studio and just figure it out. because we never did anything live. The only live show that Ulver had done before the later ones was a gig on Bootleg, which was a small stage which was TV broadcasted in the Oslo area, and they did some songs from the demo Bergtatt. I was with them actually. I was sitting I was sitting playing my acoustic, and
Hmm.
the smoke fog machine was right behind me, so I was just covered in fog the whole time. But I remember that, and after that we never we agreed upon not doing anything live. So we were more of a studio band. We wrote music and we went into the studio and recorded.
What was the reason for wanting to be a studio band as opposed to a live band?
I think again, uh, Chris had this idea, and we just felt. I just felt that it was natural to just don't do anything live. There wasn't too many bands doing live shows anyway back then, so it was kind of maybe the norm, or yeah, maybe it was. It would be hard to kind of recreate that we did on the record live, and yeah.
Yeah, because going back to Bergtatt, like there's moments where even in the first song where it's like you've got the electric guitars and you've got the acoustic guitars in the middle of stuff. It's doable, but it's just a bit of a logistics nightmare in a way. But
Yes,
yeah, yeah, I think it's still possible, and
I do it today actually in
yeah.
Dold. We do the acoustic parts. I do them live.
Yes,
Not
I was actually watching a few of your live videos. You know, you had your guitar, then you had like an acoustic guitar on a stand, and you did your thing. Yeah, yeah. I think see if Ulver were to play live and do a bit of like the early back catalog, I think having you on board and doing some of the classic stuff will go down really, really fucking well. Of course, you
I
know,
know
has
that he has been asked about that a lot of times,
oh yeah.
doing the trilogy live or something. But yeah, it's not my. I'm on, but I also respect his call on that one because they have moved on. So and I think what Ulver is doing now is it's phenomenal. I love it, and he kept that which has been my also my kind of when I write music, I always try to find good melodies and work with melodies, and that is also something that he has always done, and I think that was also which made the collaboration with him so easy because we are on the same planet when it comes to writing melodies. When we wrote Nattens Madrigal, for example, it was just me and him writing all the riffs. He would come to my place. And then I was sitting there and just hammering out riffs, and he was cool, cool, maybe like this, and I came up with some ideas, and he just had some ideas in the head. So it was a very very fruitful collaboration with two guys. Yeah, more or less on the same page when it comes to melody and songwriting.
Yeah, because it's fucking worked. It's
Yeah,
it's worked. No, no, for sure. Like I love I love all of Oliver's catalog, and I really like Flowers of Evil as well.
yeah.
It's got a bounce to it, it's a vibe, and it's still got that Ulverness. I don't know what it is. But again, it's probably that focus on melody and just keeping things really kind of like moving in a way. And I really,
And
really enjoy
also, I'm a real sucker for 80s kind of pop music.
it.
That's my guilty pleasure, if you can say that. And I know that same. goes for him as well, because he's you two the two latest albums you can clearly hear, and I love them. It's just it's filled with melody and all those um, chords and how the songs are built up, and the perfect mixes and the
And groovy drum beats as well. It's just
yes. So
yeah.
I'm really happy for them and for him, and I can also understand why it's hard to just do a 180 and going back and doing yeah,
Mm,
90s black metal live. So
for sure. Yeah. No, I could understand that completely. Well, why did you guys decide to go for a fully acoustic album with Kveldssanger? Is why so you started with like the black metal stuff and then it went more to the folk kind of storytelling with all the acoustic guitars and it's lovely. But what was the idea behind that as well? Like, was it just a case of like a unanimous agreement being like, we're not going to have any electric guitars. We just want to keep it all acoustic and like super melodic, and really focus on the vocal. And yeah, what influenced the decision and why did it happen?
I think that Chris saw the potential of doing more acoustic, and I'd also think that he because we have done a lot of acoustic on the Bergtatt, but also from going back to Trollskogen.
Hmm.
Uh, we actually had a recording of Trollskogen with an electric guitar lead, which is really terrible because it's so out of place to just come in there with a guitar. It was an electric lead. It was just popped into my head now. But I think he saw the potential, and he saw that it could be a cool thing to do. He likes to. He's a guy that likes to move in directions and try out things. That's really what Ulver has been about all the way. It's progressing into different kind of styles, and so this was perhaps an early stage of doing that, and yeah, it was. I'm really glad that we did it, because it was for me it was an opportunity to play only the acoustic guitar, and doing that record, it was mostly done in studio as well. I had some pre-recorded or pre-written bits for maybe a handful of songs, but most of it was us working at night, because the studio we used was sitting up atop of the subway. So doing it when the subway was cranking under us was just not doable, because we had only one guitar. So we did it at night. I remember sitting in a huge kind of space, and a couple of mics, one overhead and then one directly on the guitar, and a candle lit on a small table, and a glass of wine, and we're just cranking out ideas and building songs during a whole summer. It was fantastic, and we had the opportunity to do it because we had the quite a good budget to do a record, and so it was me and him, and we had Eirik Erik who played drums. He was also doing playing flute, so he did all the parts on the flute, and we had a guy coming in and do the cello, and I think Hellhammer did the snare on one of the songs. So great times. It was one of my favorite times in the studio. Actually, it was just a couple of friends hanging out and making a record. I didn't think too much about it back then because I knew that a lot of the things was not really I could have done better, and you can hear my nose. I have I have a pollen allergy, so during the summer I always get my nose is squeaking and and everything, so you can hear my breathing, trying to breathe at least through my nose in some of the guitar parts still. So yeah, it was a record that we released and didn't. Back then it wasn't any social media and stuff, so I really didn't know how it would sit on the audience, but yeah, I'm glad we did it anyway.
Yeah, like since you mentioned the fact that it was recorded at night above above a subway and
Yeah,
candlelit and wine, that just gave me a whole different approach. Like it just would have been so fucking inspiring at the time, just being there and like just really soaking everything in. And I've got to listen to it again because since you mentioned the breathing thing as well, I want to see if I can listen
you
listen
can hear.
out for that and because I don't know, so things like that just make a an album just that little bit more special once you know the a bit more of the story and the story behind the album as well.
I was much better at doing when I wrote music earlier or in my early 20s and late teens. I was much more, I was much better at setting a mood. You lit a couple of candles and yeah, maybe had some red wine or a beer or just yeah, you have to set the mood and then just cranking out the evil stuff. But nowadays it's more like yeah, maybe should be go back to more setting an atmosphere because I think that plays a role also in the writing. We are always doing that when we are or bands are trying to make set an atmosphere when they are doing live things, but it's all most of the time when you are in the studio it's just you come in and you are hacking through the songs and you go out. But nowadays we have more time to I I do all my all the guitar stuff I do at home, and we don't need the only thing that we need the studio for today is actually doing the drums. So maybe trying to set more of an atmosphere, try to summon some inner darkness. Oh, I'm
Hmm.
just kidding. But I think that was more that was at least what made that album or recording of that album a fond memory because I remember so well the the situation and the room and the sound. Playing acoustic guitar in a large recording room, it's really nice.
Yeah, I could imagine, and it sounds it because one thing that I used to do, and I haven't done this for a long time, was I used to just play guitar sometimes in the dark, like no lights whatsoever, and try to just focus on like actual feeling and sound and trying to make something sound good. And sometimes it works. Also, I remember as well. So when I first moved to Korea, it was like in my first or second month. I was living there. So in the apartment building, we were able to just go to the top. So there was like the roof of the apartment building was like a place where you can just chill out. So I remember just going there one time at like midnight, and I had my I have like a Jackson V, which is a guitar I took there. So I took a Jackson V, and I don't know if I have it up there now, but I had this little tiny amp um, that I bought with me, and I just took it up to the rooftop, and it was just at night, and I just remember just standing there playing guitar.
Oh, soaking in
Yeah,
Every
yeah, it was like seeing like the skyline of my city, Dongtan in South Korea. So seeing like the Dongtan skyline, seeing like there was I call it like the four pillars of Dongtan because there were four giant tower blocks in the center, like bigger than Big Ben, almost as tall as the London Eye, huge towering things. And I remember just standing there as well, seeing like the cars go past, and just like I don't know, like something about that day is it was very, very memorable.
feel like it was kind of an anthem when you were standing there and just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. It felt like the world was at your feet, kind of thing.
that that is why I still do music, because when you try to figure out something, or you the best riffs, at least in my opinion, that I've written are the riffs that are just they come out.
Yes,
You
yes,
don't have to
yeah,
you don't have to try to figure out the next thing. You just jamming with yourself and just and you get these goosebumps, and you get a bit high on yourself. That's the best
yeah.
feeling in the world. I can't imagine it's so much harder to write black metal riffs today than it was back in the 90s, because if you figured out um, I think it was Thorns or something, that they had a lot of the minor chords, and they was doing that,
Yeah.
and you open like a Pandora's box, and you just have all these kind of variations. You can make 100 songs with different variations of the same thing, and it all sounds like you. But today it's I have this I have this I'm not I'm really bad actually at listening to black metal and
Mhm.
updating myself. I seldom listen to anything black metal. I listen to something, but usually if I listen to black metal, I go back a couple of decades. But and writing today is I'm always okay. I finished a new song, and I'm like, is this done before? Am I copying somebody? Because I really don't want to be a copycat or yeah, plagiarize. And I don't think too much about it, but I think today finding your own, yeah, like we were talking about earlier, finding your own voice in a genre that is become massively popular, and there are I don't know how many recordings are released every year, but there is yeah, a shit ton of recordings and riffs and songs. Inventing the wheel, it's hard, and but I think it's necessary. It's necessary for people, or the younger generation to dare to do their own thing. Either
Mm.
it works or it don't. It's a it as long as you are true to what you are doing, and just mean it and go out there, and this is what I like to do. Maybe people like it, maybe people don't like it. We were lucky because back then, if it hadn't been for some church burnings and some murders, and who knows what would happen with the black metal thing, because it was really small back then. Have you ever fell asleep while playing guitar?
No, I've
I
never
have
felt. Okay.
several times. Yes.
Oh yeah.
That's the best feeling. You are sitting in the couch and just noodling around, watching some TV and stuff, and suddenly you just fall asleep and you wake up and oh,
No, no, I've never done that. What a similar thing that I used to do. Now, this is when I was like a teenager when first started playing guitar. I remember just watching like Top Gear or whatever TV was on at the time, and I used to just practice the chords and practice like strumming. What I used to do before was when I used to play guitar and watch TV at the same time, and then put the guitar down, then eat food, and then like do the same thing again. And then when I was on like the PlayStation, because this is when online gaming started becoming more popular, I was playing Call of Duty, and like when you're waiting for like an online game to start, I remember just like waiting in in, I can't remember what it's called, like the lobby, the room, whatever it was. And I used to just like play guitar before the game, play the PlayStation, shoot people, then stop, then play the guitar again. And then I had my little amp in the room, and then I used to like, but then things really, really took off when a friend of mine, he recommended a interface to me because I had no idea about home recording. So he actually recommended an interface to me. And it wasn't until then that's when like the guitar playing got like really, really serious with the songwriting. But I never played guitar until I fell asleep. Because I always made sure whenever I play guitar and I put it down, um, to sleep, I always just kind of like, I don't know, I focus on the sleep when it's time to sleep, I guess, in a way. But no, I haven't done that yet. Maybe that's the thing that's going to happen in future. It's very possible.
I
Like,
haven't done it lately because this was what I was. I made a bad habit for myself, and I'm still stuck to that habit. Is whenever I play guitar, I don't practice too much
uh,
anymore. But I get this kind of boost sometimes, periods, and then I want to practice. And
hmm,
what I always do then, I need to have something on the television or streaming a video or a movie or something. Then I can sit and play.
hmm.
That's something I think I got from when I was younger. I remember having a TV in my room, and it was always on. We had like three channels, but it was always on, and I was always practicing things, and I needed that. Like you see on the kids today that are on the telephone at the same time they are watching TV and they are playing on the telephone. It's kind of so I it's hard for me to just turn off the music
Hmm.
and focus on my guitar. Only exceptions are if I'm going to learn something or relearn something for a live show, then I'm very focused, or when I'm writing or recording, then I'm obviously not watching anything. But when I'm just playing, I need to have something in the background, and it's a bad habit. Which
Hmm. No, that's
but
fine.
that's the reason I think that I fell asleep so much because I was lying on the couch and I was always with the guitar, and I just fell asleep. Sometimes my mother came in, just took my guitar and put it away.
It's interesting now because of YouTube, really. The times when I most pick up a guitar is when I either need to film something or if I'm recording something. Is it's interesting because there's very little time to actually learn things and play guitar for actual pleasure now because it's kind of become it's annoying because sometimes guitar has become work. And when that happens, it's just like, oh, it's like, there's days where I wake up and it's like, okay, I need to film a video because I've got to get something out next week. And then I'd have to quickly think of a topic, or I've got like my list and I think, okay, which one's like the quickest or whatever, and trying to get something done and out there. And in some ways that really sucks. But then I get those days where I'm like, okay, I can actually just enjoy the guitar. And then that's when things get like super, super special. And then you can come up with the cool riffs and the cool ideas, and then things work. And going back to what you're saying about like that one moment, it's when your playing becomes subconscious and you just come up with a riff on the spot that's just like, whoa, where did that come from? I wasn't even thinking. But then that's the riff, and it really works. I think it's good for bands to find their own path and not try and do things the way other people did, like find their own way of writing, their own way of doing things, and challenge norms, and don't sometimes don't even listen to people and just come up with like your own ideas and things, I guess.
Yeah, and some people are about doing. mm they want to make riffs and songs like Dark Throne or Burzum or whatever, and that's fine also. I think as long as you are content with what you are doing, and if you want to do something else, don't be afraid to do it because that's the only way that um, a genre can progress or I don't know. One thing I've learned the past years is is there are a lot of sub genres in all of a sudden in black metal. I thought I was playing black metal, but oh no, this is more like black gaze, or this is this and this, and it's hard. I still call it black metal. I still call it heavy metal. I still call it death metal. I'm not about all these genres, and I think that if you are a person or a band that wants to make your own music, don't get too caught up in what kind of style you are doing. Just make what you are or record or create or play what you are really content with. What with in the end of the day, you want to stand on top of that building and get a zen moment and goosebumps and feel that the world is at your feet. That's the most important thing. And if that means you are playing this and that or something completely different, doesn't matter. The only thing you must be prepared that maybe it takes a lot longer time to get recognized. That's what is going to be necessary to be recognized. If you put down the ambitions, just get rid of the ambitions in the first place. This is my this this would be my advice if somebody was asking me advice. Try to feel and have feel what you are doing, and if you are feeling that this is what you are truly want to do, then you should go 100% with it. Either it being this genre or this genre. It's most important is what you self get out of it and how you feel.
For sure, that's exactly it. Because
Visions can wait a bit, and then find your path and your voice, and then work on that, and then you can start working with ambitions and how to progress and stuff.
because it takes some time for a band to find what they're about, and it takes time for some people to find their sound. Because with one of my bands, it's like, yes, we created like the music, but when it came to like the actual sound to make the band unique, that's only something that I came up with by a lot of thought and making music for a long time, but then also navigating the writing in that way to enhance this kind of unique sound. And I wish I did it sooner. I
Yeah,
wish I did it sooner.
that's a learning curve anyway, and at least you have done it, and yeah.
Yeah, of course. And I think it's important. It's like when people have their music, I think it's important for people to get their music out there. I mean, of course, if they want to get it out there, I think it's a good thing for people to release their music because you don't know where it's going to lead up and you don't know who you're going to inspire down the line. It's like yeah, like if you never picked up the guitar, we would never have this conversation, for like sometimes even like small decisions like that seem so like small and insignificant can have like insane consequences down the line. And but then it all comes down to passion. And if people are willing to share their share what they're passionate about and share the art that they've made with their passion.
Mm.
So that's what I think anyway. Like music will always be an evolving thing, and there's always going to be bands and people who are going to challenge the norm and challenge what's right or what they're supposed to be. But I think it's good for people to have new ideas and try and find, yeah, again, like become more of themselves, copy less, and try and find something, just new ideas. I think that's what I want now. I want to hear some new ideas and different things because it's really exciting to um it's really
At least,
exciting to
at least if you are a person that wants to do it.
yeah.
Like I said, some bands wants to sound like another band, and they don't have any ambitions or desire to create something of their own, and that's fine. Let them do that.
Of
But
course.
if you are in a band or are an aspiring musician who wants to do um, yeah, do your music a certain way. I think it's very important to push those people
Mm.
to actually do it, because I think the it's easy today to let's say you have a brilliant idea of doing something. You want to do this and that and bring in those instruments and play like this and have this kind of vocalist, and then you go to the band and it's suddenly there are four other people that may not share your thoughts, or and then are you really inspired or engaged to do this your way? Then it's also maybe on time a time to maybe find other people to play with. This is
Mhm.
also a hard thing, starting band, and it's has always been like that. You have to also find the correct or group of people to collaborate with to get your vision or yeah, whatever out there. Don't yeah, it's very philosophical, but don't let people change your mind, to be honest.
Yeah, have that stubbornness to be like, no,
Yeah,
let's try this and go for it. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because that's going to help them expand things. Then if they've got like a bit of support for new ideas, it's like, there's never there's never bad ideas. It's all about kind of the execution in a way. Like for example, like here's the thing. So Taka, they made that song Mir, which is that black metal song with the banjo solo. Now, if you said that to someone like, hey, there's a black metal song with a banjo, they'd be like, haha, what? But then the actual execution of it was so good that it's like, oh shit, this is amazing. And I think that's another thing that's important as well. It's like, or if you've got the idea that and it is different, it has to be executed in a good in a way that works. Because if it's just like, for example, let's just pretend like this is a banjo and I'm just going, it might work for some, but then having like a melodic banjo solo over a cool black metal chord progression is, I think, a bit more of a smart way of doing things. I don't know, because this is one of those things where it's like, this is where it gets a bit subjective in a way.
exactly, and that's the point.
Yeah.
Um, Most of the times you are not going to please everyone
Mhm.
anyway, so just go ahead and do if you want to do banjo like this. Maybe, maybe there's a couple of guys in Texas or something that, oh, that's cool banjo. Never heard a banjo like that.
Yeah, yeah. I want to talk about Nattens Madrigal. The guitar tones on Nattens Madrigal was a Marshall JCM 800 with the metal zone, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. And what was the recording process for that? Because it's a lot more of it's a much raw recording as opposed to the previous two albums. What was the setup, and was that recorded? Because it sounds like you guys all recorded it live.
No, it was not live, but the drums and bass, what we typically did was, think maybe at least the bass and drums was recorded. And then maybe I played some guitar just for the drummer to know where he was. I think we used Click back then. This was the first record we did on digital. I think was the DAT tapes. Uh, so I guess it was easier to edit in post, but the bass and drums, and then we did the guitar parts. I don't think I played the whole songs through, but I did the parts from there to there to there to there. It was some editing, but yeah, it was a basic setup, not live, but it was bass drums and guitar one and guitar two, and some overdubs and the acoustic.
What was the decision to go for that more raw sound?
Again, Chris's idea. He had this vision. We started out with a melodic kind of balanced mix with the Bergtatt, and then came the acoustic, and then to top it off, I think he wanted it to sound really harsh and yeah, to go just a nudge above what was previously done. So it was actually done in the mastering, if I remember correctly. They turned down a lot of the bass, and yeah, it's not so easy to listen to. I can agree to that, but I heard a new remaster of it, which is I think was on one of the box sets that came out. It had a remastered version, and it sounds more balanced. To be honest, you can hear the bass, and it's more yeah, it's easier to hear the guitar riffs and stuff. But I think it was a right decision to do it, and yeah, we are talking about it now. Maybe we would not talked about it when if we had done it in any other way.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah, because was it a five-string bass that was used? Because some of the notes in the bass line go lower than E.
I don't remember. Maybe that's you who did the bass, and I think he's at least now he's using a five-string bass. I can't remember if he did that back then, but he was also playing with Arcturus, and so it's more than yeah, probably he used a five string bass. I
Mm.
haven't really given it any thought actually before you mention it now, so I
Yeah,
will ask him next time I see him.
I did a YouTube video called Black Metal with Good Production, and the intro for Nattens Madrigal was done on it. So I was learning all the bits, and I
Yeah.
thought the song was in D standard because of the bass, because it goes lower than E. So I recorded it in D standard, but yeah, as you cleared up earlier, it's in E standard.
I was using my the guitar I swapped with
Yeah.
the Floyd Rose system, and that was in E standard guaranteed.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, the beginning of Nathan's Madrigal, you've got the one guitar, and you've got this guitar. It sounds like it's just like it's plugging in, or
Yeah, we
like
used a lot of those. We kept it. We didn't do any. Today you clean up
Hmm.
in the projects. You clean up. You pan out and or yeah. But we kept it quite raw back
Yeah,
then, and we thought it was cool to just have the sound of the guitar plugging in and the crackling and yeah,
yeah.
it gave it a nice touch, I think.
I think that was so charming because it's like it just sets the tone. It's like straight into it. It's like, oh shit, fucking let's plug in, fucking go. Yeah.
Is that one? Yeah,
Did you do all the guitar solos on that album?
yeah.
Oh, dude, that's awesome. That's
Can't
awesome.
play that now. It was that was one-offs.
Oh,
Uh, I've really tried to learn or to exercise to be much more of a lead guitar player, but sometime early I never be as good as oh I um I still practice, try to build up some speed and stuff, but Oh, I keep to the more melodic half-paced or yeah mid-paced solos, but I did those. It was some kind of diving with the tremolo bar and yeah, it was cool. I couldn't play them now, I think.
But that's no, no, it's awesome because I was actually listening to Nattens Madrigal earlier today, and it's just it's so charming. I don't know what it is. It's just there's so much charm in that album. There's moments where it goes like extremely pretty, um, because it was this one riff that you made, and it's just really happy. It's
I know it.
that one, yeah, that one. That's all.
Kind of happy.
Yeah, super happy.
Do, 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 do. And it gets more brutal after that. But
Oh yeah.
I wasn't sure. I remember I wasn't sure if that was suitable because
Hmm.
I remember playing that and I just yeah, felt like, oh, I really like to play this. And it was no questions about it. It was just we are going to use that riff. So it stands out from a lot of the minor stuff. And writing in major is difficult, but sometimes it can really work.
Hmm. Yeah, I get you. See, I'm one of those people that I I always have to think of everything in a minor key. It's like if something's in C major, it really you're just playing it in A minor in a way.
I think that's how we are programmed when we are doing it. At least for me, also, I think in minor most of the time because I think I find it easier to make melodies that I like on a minor progression.
Hmm.
Sometimes a major can make the transition to minor really cool. Like it's kind of a dynamic and it's you're not the the next riff in minor. Comes across much stronger if you come from a major chord, which opens the song. It was okay. What is this? Is a major, and then you go down to the minor stuff and the scream. I think it screams also when it starts on the or it starts growling when we go down to the minor, if I remember. And that's really impact. It has a great impact.
Yes.
But
Yeah, because that's a really important songwriting technique. It's like it's having each section be distinct and having the disparity and the difference between the sections, you know, relative enough that they work,
mm,
but at the same time distinct but different enough in some ways that it doesn't really work, but it kind of works better. It makes each part stand out a lot more. So do you know, going from like the major thing, I was just remembering Satyricon actually, like Dawn of a New Age, it's like where the guitar's coming with an E major chord and then this chord here.
hear that a lot in Norwegian folk music. That's a typical chord.
Oh, cool. See, I don't know anything about Norwegian folk music, but having that difference just kind of works is because it's like um, because sometimes in some songs where it's just like if it's like the same pace with like the same riff the whole time, sometimes it works. If it really, really sucks you in, it like the Transylvanian Hunger kind of effect. Just it sinks you into the song. But then if we go to a take Dark Throne, another example would be In the Shadow of the Horns, because that's like riffs all over, and then you've also got, I don't know.
That's the one that starts down, 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 down.
Hmm.
Oh, that's a oh, I love that song. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's it's
But,
just
but
so sick. It's so good.
when you write music, do you think in theory or do you just play and then try to match it up?
Okay, so both. I want to avoid, the more I play guitar, the less I want to think about theory.
Yeah.
Think about theory when I want to add second guitars or add harmonies,
Yeah,
or write in that kind of sense. Because when I'm playing, like for example, I want a collection of spontaneous riffs, basically, or I want riffs that flow well into each other and to create a really, really cool song. Because what I want from a song is a journey, and then what I want from an album is a journey, or any release. I want to feel like everything is meant to be where it is.
yeah.
That's how I write how I kind of like think of a song. So if we take my recent project End with my band Oreshkagor, so it's a 3-track EP, and I wanted each song to slowly get like darker and more introverted as it went along. So the first song was written by myself and the old singer, which is kind of like a bit more of a kind of like a fist bumpy, mosh pitty kind of, still aggressive, fast, but also quite catchy song. Whereas the
Mm.
second one is a bit more catchy, but it's shorter and it's darker in tonality in some of the riffs and the writing. And then the other one is far more foreboding. It's a lot more slower sections, kind of like more build-ups and slow build-ups over time, where you feel like, oh shit, it's getting better, it's getting bigger, 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 and then it all kind of like kicks off, and then you've got a whole bunch of different riffs in there as well. So that's what I want. I want each song to feel like a journey, and I want each song. The way I like to write is I need every riff to flow perfectly, and that's my approach to it. Like I don't want to think about theory at all. I only want to think about theory when I need to think about theory, because I
Mm.
want I want like muscle memory and the subconscious to make the riff, and
Yeah.
make it that way. But sometimes the theory helps when, again, writing with two guitars. If so, this is in D standard at the moment. So, for example, if the chord progression is something like an E minor, a C minor to a B minor, for example, okay, then I'll think, okay, I'll have one guitar either playing the four minor chords, and then I might have another guitar play inversions, like triad inversions, or or a different triad shape, or even octaves. I've done this before. I have one guitar play the power chords, and the other guitar playing the dyad shape as well. So both guitars together create the triad sound, and it kind of makes each guitar a bit more distinct. That's one way that I like to write as well. I like to toy around with like different harmonies and with like melodies. So if I've got a thing where it's like something super evil, so you got your E, B, and your F, I might do something like G, accentuate the minor third so you get the kind of like minor sound, and then I'll probably try the perfect fifth, and then finish on a flat five. So one guitar's going, or one guitar's, while the other's going.
Mm.
Get this kind of cool. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like a weird kind of sound, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I like the sound of strong intervals. Like when it comes to the music theory stuff, I'm very inclined towards intervals, the gaps between the notes, purely because it's those that make the chords and all the scales and stuff. So most of the time, I don't know what the exact chord name is, but I know the intervals in the chords and I know the notes in the chords, And then by knowing those, I'm able to use that with another guitar that's doing something completely different, but it still kind of works. And I like strong sounds like root fifths, thirds, and octaves and stuff. Sometimes I mess with sevenths because they're really, really nice sounds. But sixth intervals, I don't play around with too much. Fourths, I do sometimes if it's a riff. For example, like one of my riffs goes. So you've got this inverted power chord, but I think of it in fourths because you've got your E note here and you got your A note there. So I think of it as like a perfect fourth chord, and then the riff. So I mess around with things like that. It's mainly intervallic the way I write and approach music, and having the seven string really really helps with that as well. Because if going back to that E minor, C, B, I can go and get this really, really weighted, aggressive sound. So both. It's mainly come up with the riff spontaneously, but then you also have to use this conscious thought with theory, thinking about, okay, what am I actually playing and what works with other stuff. It can get really geeky, but I try to keep things as simple as possible. Sometimes I wish my playing was, sometimes I wish my playing was smarter, and I knew a bit more kind of like cool jazz chords and stuff. But at the same time, it's like I'd much rather come up with like stuff myself because I'm in that camp where it's like new ideas and new things, which goes on to our previous conversation of trying to find new ideas and test the boundaries and find new sounds and shit like that.
I wish I could, or I know more theory, because I basically do what you do, but I don't know what would go. I have to figure it out every single time. Okay, I have some basic idea. I played the guitar for many years, so I know what sounds and what I usually end up doing. I think it would be easier for me if I could, instead of fumbling around and spending much time with, oh, is it this one? Is it this one? Because I have this. Normally, I write one riff, and my style is basically I always written for two guitars. So I normally I have one, in a lot of the songs I have written. There is one tremolo going, doing more of a, not a bass thing, but on the lows, and then I have a melody on top. Sometimes the bass thing is coming first, and sometimes the melody comes. Especially with Dven, I'm trying to do a bit different, because I'm writing now. I'm writing for the second album nowadays, and I'm trying to explore more, more of the, what can I do with one, for two players, that's not only the same. I'm trying to push myself a bit out of the norm that I've created for myself, just to be, to sound different. Actually, it's a lot of the same as earlier, but a lot of the songs now is also, it's more, I'm building the build up of the songs, and the structure is different than earlier, just because I want to do something new. And but I think that knowing theory would probably have made a lot of the choices, or at least it would make it easier for me, or um, because I spend a lot of time figuring things out, and like you, I'm very, if I don't like a riff, I don't record it. I just, okay, throw it away, and then you try something new, and you know, at least for me, I know when it sounds right. Okay, I'm going to use this, and and sometimes it's, maybe the path to finding that kind of riff would have been shorter if I knew the theory about behind
Mhm.
notes I'm playing.
Yeah, like something that I used to do and mess around with that I haven't thought about this for ages, but it just kind of clicked. It's the what I used to do, and I used to I used to test some students back when I was teaching guitar a lot more. I said, "Show me how many ways you can play an E minor." And then you just gotta think like, okay, or an E power chord, or an E minor, anything like that. So first of all, like the way I did it, it was like, okay, I started real simple with just okay, power chord, then power chord with the octave, and then okay, cool. Then you've got the full E minor chord. Then you could think bar chords, and then you could think triads, and then here, and then you got inversions, and then no, that's the one. What's that other shape? Ah, here we go. There we go. So inversion, 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 and then you got back to E minor, then add the ninths, and then can you add more to it? That's a nice chord. Can you do even more? Not really minor, but well, that's a chord that can work. It's quite tricky on the seven string. And then what about here? What can I do in these ends, in this area? And what about this kind of like jazz shape here? Or what about this kind of thing? Trying to play, or yeah, that's a bit more of like a major seven kind of thing. But yeah, that's one thing that I used to just do. And then you've got like these, I call them like the Abath chord shapes because Immortal use these chord shapes, those ones. So there's other types of E's, and then you got the E inverted power chord and things like that. And then you could go up the triads here as well. Basically, yeah, I just fucked around a lot with just E, and then I applied that to like some other different chords, and then I kind of found what kind of notes and chords sound good together. But I also really like this idea of like kind of staying on one um like one bass note, and going back to this riff earlier. See there, it's all different types of E chords. You know, you could think of these as all as E chords. So E with the fourth, then the perfect fifth with the power chord, then sharp fifth, then the minor third, fourth, minor third. Then I finally changed to a D in the bass. Yeah, so that's my kind of approach. And
I do the same thing basically, but I never think about what I'm playing. Is this an E? Is this an A?
ah,
I have a basic idea which key I'm in, of course, but I never think about and yeah, it's maybe I should teach myself some more theory. I have my signature like these ones.
oh, oh, hell yeah.
So I was doing like this. I can't remember. It's one of
Wait,
the
uh, that, yeah,
yeah,
these ninth
but
chords.
it's more it's more swingy. It's
Ah, ah,
from D to C.
yeah.
I still use this approach for also the new songs.
They're lovely chords. Your current projects, I can't pronounce it properly. Dold Vorde Ens Navn?
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did that come about? Because you mentioned earlier you had a break of playing guitar, and then it seemed like you kind of got back into it, and then you started the new band, and it's
Yeah.
interesting as well because it's with Vikotnik of Doedsvangr. So how did that come about, and what happened in the meantime when you were not playing guitar, and what kind of got you back into it again?
I was always playing guitar, but I was not writing any metal. I did with Ulver. I did the marriage of heaven and hell and Perdition City. It got less and less guitar in them, but around in 2000, I got my first child,
Mhm.
so it was a natural point to just that with also the Ulver progressing into the more electronic bits, it became even more natural for me to take a break actually, and I got my first child in 2000, and then the second one came in 2002, and then I was just fiddling about at home with my guitars and just playing. And I have some friends who were more into electronic music, which who might need some guitar playing or stuff, and I was just for just playing. I just did a lot of different things. And if we fast forward to 2013, I was asked by Chris to. I also did some actually some things with Ulver as a session guitar player. We did a cover song of Kiss, uh, Strange Ways, which was for a Kiss Army Norway compilation. It was very cool, and I did also some session on the head control system, which Chris released with Daniel Cardoso, and I did yeah, some on Blood Inside. I think I did some guitar, so I was in and out. So just we were still buddies and hanging out, but music wise, I was a bit dormant, you can say, in yeah, 10 plus years. But Chris called me in 2013, and he asked me if because he was producing a record for Myrkur, a Danish girl, and he wanted me to do the acoustics, and Tellock of Mayhem, he was going to do the Morten was going to do the electric parts, but it was not sure if he had the time to do it. So I was also asked to, if he don't have the time, if I can also do the electric parts. It ended up, at least for me, doing the acoustic parts, and that kind of spiraled into me getting inspired to writing some new material for myself on the acoustic. So I wrote acoustic piece which I just recorded at home, and I put it on YouTube just for anybody interested, and it kind of got some streaming, and I got a call, or not a call, I got a mail from Prophecy, and they wanted to was if I was thinking about doing a record, they would be happy to release it for me. And okay, cool. And I wasn't really thinking about it at the time, but I was starting to write more music. And from 2014 to 2016, I was writing a lot of acoustic, and it ended up being more than enough for an album. So I talked to Prophecy again, and I got signed, and um, yeah, I'm more or less finished all my guitar recordings in 2017, and at the same time, me and my friend from the younger days, earlier days, Kai, which is the bass player in Dold today. He came. We were hanging around, just having some beers and talked about the old days, and I had my guitar and I had my small home studio, and we just writing some riffs and yeah, goofing around with some drums and bass and stuff. And we figured out that if we write 4 songs just for fun, we write 4 songs. We ask some we find somebody to sing and somebody to play the drums, and we just go and record it. And this was happening as I was waiting for the rest of the musicians that I wanted to have in my acoustic project. So I was kind of starting the acoustic, and then it leaped over into the black metal stuff. And we did that. We wrote 4 songs, and we talked about who could we ask to sing, and he's an old friend of Vikotnik, Yusuf. I remember Vikotnik, but we didn't socialize too much back in the days. I was not socializing uh, too much with people. I was more at home playing, and but they we asked him to try to figure out some lyrics, and if you could if this is something he would like to do. And yeah, sure. And as drummers concerned, I remember the drummer that played on the Myrkur album, and I just gave him I sent him a DM on Messenger, I think, and yeah, cool, he was on board. And we recorded these 4 songs was the EP that the first release that we did was a 4-track EP, which we recorded in the same studio as we recorded actually the demo for Bergtatt. It's a youth club not far from where I'm living, which is still active as a they call it a rock factory, and it's still active. And we thought it'd be cool to go down there. Dimmeborger has recorded their first releases there. It's a kind of a for us it's a nostalgic place to record, and we didn't think. We got a deal with Soul Seller. He wanted to release it, and we were more than happy. We didn't think that we should could release it, and was no ambitions at all. And yeah, that was really what inspired the start to for me. I was really inspired to do more aggressive or more black metal, and then I've already started to write more material which was not suitable on the EP. So we decided, okay, let's just release this EP, and we focus on the other material for the full length, which was Mørkere, which came in out in 2021. So I actually managed to release 2 black metal albums before releasing the Håvard project, which came in 2022, which has actually started in 2014, but yeah, and then came the lockdown, and everything took so much time, and I wanted to have these players, and I wanted to do some things with Chris, and okay, they went on tour, and I had to wait, so that's why it took, yeah, six years to release it. But it really was it felt good to just go back and to see if I had some riffs left in me, so it was cool. So that's I'm working now on the second album, full length with Dold, so it's going to be another one.
Wicked. If you guys have any shows in London at any point, I'm gonna be
We
there.
wish, we wish. We are we are trying to get more shows, and we have been lucky. We have been playing in some cool places. In Prophecy, they have this kind of Prophecy Fest every
Hmm.
year, which
Yeah.
is in a cave in Balve in Germany, and we played there last year, and it was fantastic. Awesome place, great sound. We played at noon, but inside the cave it was pitch dark, and it was full, cramped already at noon, and it was fantastic. And but we want to play more live. I didn't do that with Ulver, but I feel now that we have a great band. We have an additional guitar player also, which was necessary for us to play these songs live. So he's a full member now. So for the next album, he will record his parts, and I will record my parts, and we want to do more live shows. But it's hard to because it's we are yeah kind of new, so we have to go the same path that is of building kind of the name. And Puttick is great there. He's a great front man and figure to have a and he's also only doing the vocals in Dold, so he's all free to just do whatever he likes to do, and that's important, I think. Also, when you're doing live shows today, it's it's almost as important as playing, and that the music sounds good, and that you have something visual
Hmm.
for the audience to get capture into, because it's hard to distinguish yourself from bands if you're just a tenth band just standing and playing. So
No, of course, I agree. Because Dodd is not a band I've seen yet, but I want to try and catch them at this year's Cosmic Void. Because I've seen videos of Dodd live, and even seeing Vikotnik perform with you guys, and definitely a character, very, very animated. You can tell he's just, it's his stage kind of thing, and he's doing what he wants. What's like the future plans with yourself and music?
yeah, it's writing more Dold material I'm working on now. Come quite a bit, yeah, halfway done, I think, more or less. And I also I'm eager to start to also write more acoustic stuff. I have a couple of albums more to do with that, so that's in the pipeline for me, and hopefully more live shows. We are doing a couple of live shows this year with Dold. Hopefully, we will do some more. We are trying to. It's a hard world. I figured out earlier there wasn't a problem because we didn't do anything live, but playing live today, you have to really work for it, and yeah, get noticed. So yeah, that's in the plan. So yeah, more or less. So that's
Cool.
that's that's more that's 2 3 years ahead. So that's why
Gotcha.
I'm.
What's your proudest musical moment?
Oh, first I got you remember I was telling you about my music teacher.
Hmm.
We had on the finals, the last exam on in music. We got an assignment. Three songs three options of songs that we had to learn. One would give you a G, as we say in Norway. It's kind of a middle score. One will give you an M, which is like the second highest score, and one will give you an S, which is the highest score. So it was three different levels of musical pieces, which was easy, more advanced, and advanced. And I remember I was practicing to be on the safe side. I can't remember which song it was to get a second best score. I was practicing that like an idiot, just to I need to have an M in music at least. And I was also fiddling around and playing the piece that would give me the best results, and that was Something by George Harrison. And I came in and I was sat down, and he asked me what you're going to play, and told him the piece that had practiced on, and he said, no, you are going to play Something for me. Okay, here goes nothing, I thought, and I played it, and I managed to get through it, and then I did it so well that he gave me the best score. And that was, I don't know if he meant, obviously he meant it, but that was something at that moment that really gave me a self-confidence and a boost to pursue playing the guitar and going into playing more acoustic stuff. That would be my first proudest moment. And the second one is when we did the Bergtatt, because that was the first time I ever got something on the CD. Yeah, so that's my two proudest musical moments.
Epic.
There's been more proud moments, of course, but that's the one I would pick for the most of them.